In the untamed heart of Montana's Bitterroot Mountains, where jagged peaks pierced the sky and valleys cradled secrets older than time, a black Mustang named Thunder roamed free. His coat gleamed like polished obsidian, a white star blazing on his forehead, marking him as a legend among the wild herds of the Sapphire Range. Known to local wildlife photographers, including Ayanna Blackfeather, a Salish Kootenai woman who tracked his herd for years, Thunder was a stallion of unmatched spirit, leading his kin with a commanding presence. But his freedom was fleeting. By spring 2025, the Bureau of Land Management's helicopters would shatter his world, their thundering blades driving his herd into chaos. Meanwhile, in the small town of Ravens Hollow, 10-year-old Lily Harper sat silent in her grandfather's struggling horse sanctuary, her voice stolen by grief. 14 months prior, a car accident had claimed her parents, leaving her in a world of muted sorrow. What unfolded when these two broken souls met would defy all expectations, weaving a tale of redemption that would echo far beyond the rugged Montana hills. The sun hung low over the Sapphire Range, casting long shadows across the valley floor as Thunder galloped with his herd, hooves pounding the earth in a rhythm as old as the mountains. His muscles rippled beneath his sleek coat, eyes sharp with intelligence, scanning for threats. Ayanna Blackfeather crouched behind a ridge, her camera capturing the herd's grace, her notes documenting the ecological toll of government roundups. "These horses are more than livestock," she had written in a tribal newsletter. "Their freedom is our heritage, stolen by bureaucracy." Her words carried weight in Ravens Hollow, where debates over wild horse management sparked heated town hall meetings. Yet, this April morning, no one could predict the impending chaos. The air cracked with the roar of helicopters, their blades slicing through the dawn. Thunder reared, his whinny piercing the panic as his herd scattered. Wranglers on horseback shouted, "Move them up! Don't let the black one break away!" Their ropes snapping like whips. Dust clouds choked the valley, blinding the horses as they were funneled toward metal corrals. Thunder's powerful legs struck the panels, his eyes rolling white with terror, nostrils flaring as he fought the encroaching steel. ABLM officer Javier Torres, a second-generation Mexican-American with a weathered clipboard, scribbled notes. "That stallion's trouble," he muttered to a colleague. "Mark him for the high-risk program." Torres had seen too many roundups, each a clash of policy and passion, but something in Thunder's defiant gaze lingered with him, a spark of something more than fear. 6 months later, at the Bitterroot horse auction, Thunder stood in a cramped pen, his once proud frame tense, his star dulled by months of failed placements. 3 trainers had tried and were unable to tame him, each attempt ending in injury. One with a broken arm, another with cracked ribs, and a ranch hand nearly trampled when Thunder kicked through a stall door. "He's headed for the slaughter truck tomorrow," Harlan Vance, the auctioneer, told a tall, weathered man studying the horse from a safe distance. Dr. Elias Harper, 68, a retired veterinarian with deep lines etched into his face, squinted against the autumn sun. His hands, calloused from years of tending animals, gripped the pen's railing. He saw the intelligence burning behind Thunder's fear, a flicker of potential others had missed. "He's not a lost cause," Elias thought, recalling his late wife Rachel's belief that every creature deserved a second chance. "How much?" Elias asked, his voice steady despite the auctioneer's warning. "You serious, Doc?" Harlan replied, shaking his head. "This one's got a devil's temper. He's dangerous, not some charity case." Elias didn't flinch, his gaze locked on Thunder's rigid posture. "I didn't ask for your opinion, Harlan. I asked for a price." Harlan named a figure, barely covering costs, and added, "Your funeral, Doc." Elias signed the paperwork, his heart heavy with doubt. His sanctuary, Horizon Hills, was already teetering on the edge of financial ruin, feed bills piling up, donations drying out. Taking on a horse like Thunder was reckless, but something about the Mustang's eyes spoke to him, a silent plea he couldn't ignore. That evening, Elias sat at his kitchen table, the weight of his decision pressing down. Papers littered the surface, bills, vet records, and now Thunder's sparse file. Jasper's border collie rested his head on Elias's knee, sensing his master's unease. "What have I done, Jasper?" Elias murmured, scratching behind the dog's ears. Rachel would have understood.
She'd always dreamed of a sanctuary for broken horses, a dream Elias had built after her death 5 years ago.
But now, with the bank account dwindling and a dangerous Mustang in his care, he wondered if he'd overreached. The phone's sharp ring cut through his thoughts. It was Lily's aunt, calling from Missoula. "The paperwork's through, Elias," she said. "Lily's social worker says she's ready to move to your custody next week." Elias's throat tightened. "How is she?" he asked. "The same," the aunt replied softly. "Still not speaking. Therapists think a new environment might help. Traumatize her to that city." Hanging up, Elias walked to the spare bedroom he'd prepared for Lily. Her clothes hung neatly in the closet, her books, mostly about horses, stacked on a shelf. He hadn't seen his granddaughter since her parents' funeral, a grim day when her blue eyes, so like her father's, stared blankly at the world. The accident had left her physically unharmed but emotionally shattered. Her voice locked away since she woke in the hospital to learn her parents were gone. Jasper trailed him, whining softly. "Looks like we've got 2 wounded souls to tend, boy," Elias said, his voice heavy with resolve and fear. Thunder and Lily are scarred and teetering on the edge of hope. In Missoula, Lily sat alone in her temporary room, clutching a sketchbook. Her pencil traced the outline of a horse, its eyes wide with fear, mirroring her own. In her dreams, she saw her parents' car spinning through the fog and heard their voices fading. She hadn't spoken since, the words trapped in a throat tight with grief. But the horses in her drawings moved freely, their manes flowing like the wind she could no longer feel. Her social worker, Elena Vargas, had promised Raven's Hollow would be different, a place of open skies and animals, where her grandfather waited. Lily didn't know if she believed in healing, but the thought of horses stirred something profound, a flicker of curiosity in her silent world. Back at Horizon Hills, Thunder stood in an isolated paddock, his ears pinned back, watching every shadow. Elias had placed him there late the previous night, the horse's arrival marked by a tense standoff with the trailer. The region's most respected trainer, Sofia Ramirez, arrived at dawn, pulling on her gloves. "Where's this problem, Mustang?" she asked, her voice clipped with professionalism. Elias led her to the paddock, where Thunder's tense form loomed in the morning mist. "Beautiful," Sophia observed, "but dangerous." "BLM roundup?" Elias nodded. 6 months ago. 3 failed placements. He was headed for slaughter before I stepped in. Sophia's eyes narrowed, her past flashing. Her favorite mare lost to a roundup years ago. "If anyone can gentle him, it's you," Elias said. Sophia didn't reply, her gaze locked on Thunder's vigilant stare. This one's different, she thought, sensing a challenge that would test her skills and stir old wounds. As Elias watched Sophia approach the paddock, he felt the weight of 2 impossible tasks: saving a horse everyone feared, and reaching a girl who had lost her voice. In the distance, Ayana's words echoed in his mind. "These horses are our heritage." Thunder's wild heart and Lily's silent pain were about to collide. And no one, not Elias, not the town, not even the Mustang himself, could predict what would follow. Would they destroy each other or find a way to heal? The Sapphire Range shimmered under a dawn sky, its granite peaks cutting through the morning mist like ancient sentinels. Thunder, the black Mustang with a star blazing on his forehead, led his herd across the valley, their hooves drumming a defiant rhythm against the earth. He had ruled this wild domain for 4 years, his ebony coat a beacon for wildlife photographers like Ayana Blackfeather, whose lens captured his untamed grace. Her Salish Kootenai heritage fueled her advocacy, her articles railing against the Bureau of Land Management's roundups that stripped Mustangs from their ancestral lands. "These horses carry our stories," she wrote in the tribal journal. "Their freedom is a legacy we're losing." But this April morning in 2025, Thunder's world was about to fracture. The roar of helicopters shattered the valley's quiet, their blades whipping the air into a frenzy. Thunder's ears pinned back, his muscles tensing as he snorted, sensing danger. His herd scattered, mares and foals bolting in panic as wranglers on horseback closed in, ropes snapping. "Move them up! Keep that black one in line!" shouted a grizzled rider, his voice barely audible over the chaos. Dust clouds choked the air, blinding Thunder as he reared, his powerful legs striking the metal panels of a makeshift corral. His eyes rolled white with terror, nostrils flaring, body trembling under his gleaming coat. Javier Torres, a BLM officer with deep-set eyes and a clipboard worn from years of roundups, watched closely. His Mexican-American roots made him question the ethics of his job. But orders were orders. "That stallion's a fighter," he noted, scribbling. "High-risk program. Mark him for containment." The corral's clang echoed as Thunder lunged again, his hooves sparking against steel. Javier hesitated, his pen pausing. He'd seen countless Mustangs rounded up, their spirits broken by confinement. Yet Thunder's defiance stirred something in him, a memory of his grandfather's tales about wild horses as symbols of resilience. But policy left no room for sentiment. The herd was loaded onto trailers, bound for processing, and Thunder's fate hung in the balance, his freedom traded for a number on a clipboard. 6 months later, at the Bitterroot horse auction, Thunder stood in a cramped pen, his once vibrant eyes dulled by trauma. 3 placements had failed. One trainer left with the sanctuary was struggling. Bills stacked high, donations scarce. But Thunder's gaze called to him, echoing Rachel's voice. Every horse deserves a home. Elias's border collie, Jasper, sat in the passenger seat, his ears perked as if sensing the moment's gravity. Rachel would have done the same, Elias murmured, scratching Jasper's ears. She'd have seen something in him, too. At the sanctuary, Elias guided the trailer to an isolated paddock, its fences reinforced to contain a horse as volatile as Thunder. The Mustang burst out, his hooves tearing into the dirt, eyes wild as he scanned the unfamiliar terrain. Elias stayed back, watching from a safe distance as Thunder paced, his star catching the last light of day. The horse's vigilance was unnerving, his every movement calculating, as if cataloging threats. Elias felt a pang of doubt. Had he made a mistake? The sanctuary couldn't afford another failure, not financially, not emotionally. He thought of Rachel's dream, the promise he'd made to her on her deathbed to save horses others had given up on. Thunder was the ultimate test of that vow. That evening, Elias sat at his kitchen table, the weight of his choice settling like dust. Papers littered the surface, overdue feed bills, vet invoices, and Thunder's sparse auction record. Jasper rested his head on Elias's knee, whining softly. "What are we in for, boy?" Elias sighed, his fingers tracing the edge of a bill. The sanctuary was Rachel's legacy, built to honor her love for horses after cancer stole her. But now, with funds dwindling and a dangerous Mustang in his care, Elias questioned his judgment. Was he chasing a ghost, risking everything for a horse no one else believed in? The phone rang, slicing through his thoughts. It was Lily's aunt, calling from Missoula. "Elias, the paperwork's finalized," she said, her voice heavy with concern. "Lily's coming to you next week. Her social worker thinks the change might help." Elias's throat tightened, his heart caught between hope and dread. "How's she doing?" he asked, though he knew the answer. Still silent, the aunt replied, "Hasn't spoken since the accident. Therapists say the city reminds them of the crash. Maybe the sanctuary will reach her." Elias nodded, though she couldn't see. "I'll have her room ready," he said, his voice thick. After hanging up, he walked to the spare bedroom where Lily's books, horse stories mostly, sat on a shelf, her clothes folded in the dresser. He hadn't seen her since the funeral, her blue eyes hollow, her small frame curled inward as if shielding herself from the world. In Missoula, Lily sat alone, her sketchbook open to a drawing of a black horse, its eyes wide with fear that mirrored her own. The accident replayed in her mind, headlights flashing, her parents' voices fading into fog. Words had abandoned her since, locked behind a wall of grief. But horses in her drawings ran free, their spirits unbound. Her social worker, Elena Vargas, had spoken of Raven's Hollow, open fields, and her grandfather's sanctuary. Lily didn't know if she could heal, but the thought of horses stirred a faint pulse of hope, a whisper in her silent world. At Horizon Hills, Elias stood at the paddock, watching Thunder's silhouette against the dusk. The Mustang's ears flicked, his body tense, as if sensing the storm of change approaching. Elias thought of Lily, her silence a wound as deep as Thunder's fear. Two broken souls, bound for his care, their fates intertwined in ways he couldn't yet fathom. Ayana's words echoed, "Their freedom is our heritage." Elias clenched his fists, resolve hardening. He'd save Thunder and reach Lily, no matter the cost. But as the wind carried Thunder's low whinny, sharp with unease, Elias wondered if he was ready for the battle ahead. The Montana sky hung heavy with autumn clouds as Dr. Elias Harper drove his weathered truck toward Missoula, the engine's hum a steady counterpoint to his racing thoughts. Horizon Hill's sanctuary, nestled in the folds of Raven's Hollow, was already stretched thin, its barns leaking, and its bank account nearly dry. Now, with Thunder, the volatile black Mustang, in an isolated paddock and his granddaughter Lily Harper soon to arrive, Elias felt the weight of two impossible burdens. Jasper's border collie sat in the passenger seat, ears pricked as if sensing 14 months had passed since the car accident that stole her parents, leaving her voice trapped behind a wall of grief. Her sketchbook was her only outlet, filled with drawings of horses galloping through dreamscapes, their eyes wild yet kind. Last night, she'd drawn a black horse with a white star, its gaze hauntingly familiar, as if it knew her pain. The social worker, Elena Vargas, glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Your grandfather's place is special, Lily," she said gently. "Horses, open fields. It might feel like home." Lily didn't respond, her fingers tracing the horse's outline, a flicker of curiosity stirring in her silent world. At Horizon Hills, Elias prepared for Lily's arrival, his old bones protesting as he swept the porch of the modest farmhouse. The sanctuary was a patchwork of hope: 8 rescue horses, a sagging barn, and a garden Rachel had planted years ago, its roses now overgrown but still blooming. Thunder's paddock stood apart, its reinforced fences a testament to his reputation. The Mustang had injured 3 trainers before Elias bought him, his aggression born of a brutal roundup. In her latest article, Elias thought of Ayana Blackfeather's words, "These Mustangs are our kin, their spirits tied to the land." Taking Thunder was a risk, but Lily's arrival felt like a greater challenge. "How do you reach a child who won't speak?" he murmured to Jasper, who whined softly, tail thumping. The crunch of tires on gravel announced Lily's arrival. Elias stepped outside, his heart lurching as he saw her, thinner than he remembered, her eyes older than her 10 years. Elena Vargas helped her get out of the car, handing Elias a folder of paperwork. "She's physically fine," Elena said, "but the mutism is deep. The therapists think Raven's Hollow might break through." Elias nodded, his throat tight. "Thanks, Elena. I'll take it from here." Lily clutched her backpack, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the Sapphire Range loomed. Elias knelt to her level, his voice soft. "Your room's ready, Lily. And wait till you meet Jasper. He's fatter than last time." A faint flicker crossed her face, but no words came. He hadn't expected them, not yet. Lily moved silently to her room, her steps deliberate, as if testing the ground. Elias watched her unpack her sketchbook, her fingers lingering on a drawing of a horse that bore an uncanny resemblance to Thunder. "Got some new horses here," he said, trying to sound cheerful. "One's a Mustang named Thunder. He's struggling, like you might be. You should understand each other." Lily's head tilted slightly, her first sign of listening, but she didn't meet his eyes. Elias left her to settle, his heart heavy with her silence and the sanctuary's precarious future. The next morning, Sofia Ramirez arrived at Horizon Hills, her trailer kicking up dust as she parked near the barn. At 38, she was the best horse trainer in 3 counties, and her reputation was built on gentling horses that others deemed lost causes. But her own past, a mare she'd loved, taken in a roundup years ago, drove her to this work, a quiet fire burning in her dark eyes. Elias met her at the paddock where Thunder stood, his black coat gleaming in the dawnlight, his star a stark contrast. "He's a beauty," Sophia said, pulling on her gloves, "but trouble. BLM roundup, 6 months back?" Elias nodded. 3 failed placements. Nearly killed a ranch hand. Sophia studied Thunder's tense posture, his ears pinned, eyes tracking her every move. "If anyone can reach him, it's you," Elias said. Sophia's jaw tightened. "I'll need to watch him first. No contact yet." For 3 hours, Sophia sat on a stool outside the paddock, her presence steady but non-threatening. Thunder didn't graze, didn't drink, just watched, his body rigid, as if cataloging her as a predator. Elias brought her coffee, his own nerves fraying. "He's different," Sophia said finally, her voice low. "Most traumatized horses relax eventually, graze, move. He's analyzing me, like he's human." Elias frowned. "That unusual?" "It's extreme," she replied, standing slowly. "His trust is gone, broken in that roundup. I'll try a round pen tomorrow to see if we can set boundaries." Elias nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. Sophia was skilled, but Thunder's fear ran deep, and the sanctuary couldn't afford a failure. That evening, Elias drove to Missoula to collect Lily's belongings, leaving her with a neighbor. When he returned, he found her sitting on the porch, her sketchbook open to a new drawing, a black horse, its eyes wide with fear but sharp with intelligence. "You're up late, sweetheart," Elias said, sitting beside her. "That's Thunder." Lily didn't respond, but her pencil paused, a subtle sign she'd heard. Elias felt a spark of hope, but the sanctuary's mounting pressures tempered it. Feed costs had spiked, donations were scarce, and Thunder's presence was already stirring whispers in Raven's Hollow. The next morning, Sophia returned with Luke Harlan, a former rodeo rider who volunteered at the sanctuary. His weathered hands carried panels for a round pen, his skepticism clear. "I've seen tough horses, Elias," he said, his voice low as they assembled the pen inside Thunder's paddock. "But this one's different. He's watching us like a hawk." Sophia nodded, her focus on Thunder's suspicious eyes. "We need boundaries," she said. "He has to learn we're not the enemy." But as they tightened the final bolts, Thunder charged, his hooves slamming the panels with a force that rattled the metal. Luke jumped back, cursing under his breath. "He waited till we were distracted," he said. "No," Sophia corrected, her voice calm but her pulse racing. "He waited till we were vulnerable. There's a difference." From the farmhouse porch, Lily watched, her sketchbook open, her pencil moving swiftly. Elias stood beside her, his heart pounding. "That's Thunder," he said softly. Sophia's trying to help him trust again. Lily's eyes stayed fixed on the paddock, her expression unreadable, but her drawing captured Thunder's tension. The taut muscles, the flared nostrils. Elias saw it then, a faint connection between the silent girl and the fearful horse. Both carried wounds no one else could see, both stood apart, watching the world with wary eyes. As Sophia retreated, her face grim, Elias wondered if Lily might hold the key to reaching Thunder, or if their shared pain would only deepen the sanctuary's troubles. The autumn sun cast a golden glow over Horizon Hill's sanctuary, its light filtering through the pines that fringed Raven's Hollow. Lily Harper sat on the grass, 30 feet from Thunder's paddock, her sketchbook in her lap. Her pencil crept, tracing the Mustang's sleek black form, his white star stark against his coat. She hadn't spoken since arriving 3 days ago, her silence a heavy shroud. But her drawings spoke where words failed. The images captured Thunder's tension, his pinned ears and vigilant gaze, but also a spark of intelligence, a mirror to the fear Lily hid in her blue eyes. Dr. Elias Harper watched from the farmhouse porch, his coffee cooling in his hand. His granddaughter's presence near the dangerous horse stirred both hope and dread. Thunder had injured 3 trainers before coming here, and now, with the sanctuary's finances crumbling, Elias wondered if he'd gambled too much on both the Mustang and the girl. Inside the paddock, Thunder stood rigid, his eyes tracking every movement beyond the reinforced fences. Sophia Ramirez, the region's top trainer, had spent another fruitless morning observing him, her notebook with notes on his unrelenting wariness. "He's not just scared," she'd told Elias, "he's strategic, like he's waiting for us to slip up." Her own loss, a mare taken in a roundup years ago, determined her to reach Thunder, but his resistance was unlike anything she'd faced. Elias glanced at Lily, her petite figure a quiet contrast to the Mustang's agitation. She wasn't trying to approach, wasn't calling to him, just existing, her presence a steady rhythm against his chaos. Thunder's pacing slowed for the first time since his arrival, his ears flicking toward her. Elias's thoughts were interrupted by the rumble of a truck on the sanctuary's gravel drive. Victor Langford, the wealthy rancher whose land bordered Horizon Hills, stepped out, his silver hair glinting in the sunlight. His face was set in a scowl, weathered by decades under the Montana sun. Elias braced himself. Victor had been pushing to buy the sanctuary's land for years, claiming its rescue horses drove down property values. "Got a minute, Doc?" Victor called, his tone clipped. Elias set his coffee down, forcing a neutral expression. "What brings you by, Victor?" The rancher's eyes flicked toward Thunder's paddock. "That killer Mustang of yours. Word is, he nearly took out another trainer yesterday." Elias's jaw tightened. The incident had happened the previous evening. Luke Harlan, the sanctuary's volunteer, had gotten too close while repairing a fence. Thunder had charged, his hooves grazing Luke's shoulder, leaving a bruise but no blood. "He's contained, Victor," Elias said. "No public access to his paddock." Victor snorted, his boots crunching gravel as he stepped closer. "Contained today, maybe. What happens when he breaks through? I've got cattle 2 properties over, and a loose Mustang could cost me thousands." Elias felt a surge of anger, but kept his voice even. "He's not getting loose. We're working with him." Victor's gaze drifted to Lily, still sketching near the paddock. "Is that your granddaughter? Heard she doesn't talk." Tragic, but a failing sanctuary's no place for a kid like that. The word stung, but Elias held his ground. "This place is her home now, Victor, and it's not failing." Victor shook his head, his tone softening but laced with menace. "I've got buyers lined up for this valley, my land, yours, the Hendersons. Premium prices. Think about her future, Doc." Elias's hands clenched into fists. "I've told you before, this land's not for sale." Victor replaced his hat, his eyes cold. "Suit yourself, but if that horse hurts someone, the lawsuit'll bury you." As he drove off, Elias felt the weight of the threat settle like dust. Victor's influence in Raven's Hollow was no secret, and a single complaint could sway the county. Inside, Lily's pencil paused as she caught Victor's truck leaving. Her sketchbook showed Thunder's eyes, rendered with startling detail for a 10-year-old. Elias sat beside her, careful not to startle her. "He said you're getting his spirit down perfectly," pointing to the drawing. "That's why I named him Thunder," those eyes full of fire. Lily didn't respond, but her shoulders relaxed slightly, indicating she was listening. Elias hesitated, then added, "Some folks think he's too dangerous to keep. They don't see what you see." Lily's gaze flicked to him, a question unspoken in her eyes, then returned to the paddock. Thunder had moved closer to the fence, his head lowered, watching her with a stillness Elias hadn't seen before. That afternoon, Dr. Harlan Reed, a veterinarian from the neighboring county, arrived at Elias's request to evaluate Thunder. His assessment was blunt. "I've worked horses for 35 years, Elias," he said, studying the Mustang from a safe distance. "This one's not just wild, he's broken. Whatever happened in that roundup snapped his trust. Humane euthanasia might be the kindest option." Elias's stomach churned. "I can't give up on him yet, Harlan. He's shown signs, small ones." Reed shook his head. "He's already hurt 3 men before you. Sophia's the best, and she's getting nowhere. If he injures someone here, the liability could shut you down." Elias had no answer, his mind flashing to Victor's warning. As they returned to the house, he noticed Lily still sitting by the paddock, her book now open, reading silently. She wasn't looking at Thunder or trying to engage, just sharing space. "Is that your granddaughter?" Reed asked, frowning. "She's too close to that horse." "She's safe," Elias replied firmly, though his heart raced. "Let's go inside." From the kitchen window, Elias watched Lily, her presence a quiet anchor. Thunder's restless pacing had eased, his attention on the girl who paid him no mind. Something's happening, Elias thought, a spark of hope flickering. But the hope was fragile, overshadowed by mounting pressures. The sanctuary's phone rang that evening, and Sheriff Cole Bennett's voice came through, grave and measured. "Evening, Doc. We need to talk about that Mustang." Victor Langford called the department and said he's a public danger.
Elias sighed, rubbing his temples. Cole, he's secure. No one's getting near him. The sheriff's tone was firm but sympathetic. I've known you for 20 years, Elias, but I have a duty. If that horse can't be managed, I must issue an order. Give me 2 weeks, Elias said, his voice steady despite the knot in his chest. If I can't show progress, I'll make the call myself. After hanging up, Elias found Lily at the kitchen table, her sketchbook open to a new drawing of Thunder, his eyes softer now, less fearful. She covered the page when he entered, but her gaze drifted to the window, where the paddock lay shadowed in dusk. Elias sat across from her, his voice gentle. Want to help feed the other horses tomorrow? Not Thunder, he's not ready, but the others are friendly. Lily didn't respond, but her eyes lingered on the paddock with a quiet intensity. Elias felt a surge of hope, tempered by fear. Victor's threats, Reed's warning, and the sheriff's ultimatum loomed like storm clouds.
Lily and Thunder were drawing closer, their silent connection a fragile thread. But as Elias looked at his granddaughter's drawing, he wondered if it was enough, or if the Mustang's fear and the town's doubts would unravel everything he'd built. The morning mist clung to Raven's Hollow, draping Horizon Hill's sanctuary in a soft veil as Lily Harper sat on the grass, her sketchbook open to a new drawing of Thunder. The black Mustang stood at the far edge of his paddock, his white star catching the dawn light, his eyes less wild than before. 5 days had passed since Lily's arrival, and her silent vigil near the paddock had become a ritual. Her pencil traced Thunder's form, capturing the subtle shift in his posture, a slight easing of tension, a flicker of curiosity in his gaze. Dr. Elias Harper watched from the farmhouse porch, his coffee steaming in the chill air. Lily's quiet presence seemed to calm the Mustang, but the sanctuary's troubles loomed larger than ever. Victor Langford's threats and Sheriff Cole Bennett's ultimatum hung heavy, and Elias wondered if the fragile connection between girl and horse could withstand the mounting pressure. Lily's sketchbook was her voice, each drawing a window into her grief. Last night, she'd written in its margins, "Thunder's scared like me. He sees me." The words, scrawled in her careful hand, struck Elias as he glimpsed them while bringing her breakfast. He set the tray beside her, careful not to disturb her focus. "That's a fine drawing, Lily," he said softly. "You see him too, don't you?" Lily's eyes flicked to him, a fleeting acknowledgement, then returned to the paddock. Thunder had stopped pacing, his ears pricked toward her, his body still but alert. Elias felt a spark of hope, but it was tempered by the memory of Thunder's charge at Luke Harlan, the bruise on the volunteer's shoulder, a stark reminder of the Mustang's volatility. Sophia Ramirez arrived mid-morning, her face etched with frustration from another failed session with Thunder. "He's not budging," she told Elias, her voice low as they stood by the barn. "I've tried every approach, pressure and release, slow desensitization. He's too bright, too scarred." Her own loss, a mare taken in a roundup, fueled her determination, but Thunder's resistance tested her limits. Elias glanced at Lily, still sketching 30 feet from the paddock. "She's been there every morning," he said. "He's calmer when she's around." Sophia's eyes narrowed, studying the scene. She said, "That's not a training technique, but there's something there. Let's hold off on my session today. I don't want to disrupt it." By noon, Lily had moved closer, now 25 feet from the fence, her book open as she read silently, her lips moving faintly. Thunder's attention stayed fixed on her, his head lowered, his breathing slower than Elias had ever seen. Sophia, watching from a distance, crossed her arms. "They're communicating," she murmured, "not like trainer and horse, something more profound." Elias nodded, his heart stirring. He thought of Ayanna Blackfeather's article in the tribal newsletter, read yesterday in the town's library. "Mustangs carry trauma like us. Their healing tied to trust, not force." Lily, in her silence, seemed to understand this instinctively. The rumble of a truck broke the quiet, and Victor Langford's silver hair appeared as he stepped out, his daughter Nora at his side. Elias braced himself, expecting another confrontation. Victor had been pushing to buy the sanctuary's land, his threats backed by his influence in Raven's Hollow. But Nora, 32, with her father's height but none of his hardness, carried a book under her arm, her expression soft. "Elias," she called, her voice warm. "I heard about your Mustang and your granddaughter. I brought something for her." She held out an illustrated book about a girl and a wild horse, its cover worn from use. "When I lost my mother at 12, I stopped speaking for months," she said. "This helped me find my way back. It might help Lily." Elias took the book, his throat tight. "That's kind of you, Nora. Thank you." Nora glanced at the financial papers from the barn's desk, visible through the open door. "Times are tough, aren't they?" she said. Victor's eyes followed hers, his scowl deepening. "He said I've kept quiet about this place, Doc, but that Mustang's a liability. My cattle are at risk if he gets loose, and your sanctuary's dragging down the valley's value." Elias's fists clenched. "Thunder's secure, Victor, and this land's not for sale." Nora stepped forward, her voice gentle but firm. "Dad doesn't speak for all of us, Elias. What you're doing here, giving broken animals a chance, is special." Victor's jaw tightened, but he didn't contradict her. As Victor drove off, Nora lingered, watching Lily sketch. "She's like I was," Nora said softly, scared, locked inside herself. "But horses reached me when people couldn't." Elias nodded, his gaze on Lily. "She's starting to engage," he said. "It's slow, but it's there." Nora smiled, her eyes bright. "Keep going, Elias, for her and that horse." She left the book with him and departed, her words lingering like a promise. Elias approached Lily, holding out the book. "Nora brought this for you," he said. "She went through something like you when she was young, lost her voice for a while." Lily's fingers traced the cover, her eyes questioning. "She speaks now," Elias added, answering her unspoken thought. She found her way back, in time. That afternoon, Elias found Lily closer still, 20 feet from the paddock, her book open, her lips moving as if testing words. Thunder stood nearer the fence, his ears swiveling toward her, his body less rigid. Elias's heart lifted, but a shout from the barn shattered the moment. Luke Harlan stumbled out, clutching his arm. "That damn horse nearly got me again," he called, his face pale. He'd been adjusting a fence panel when Thunder lunged, his hooves grazing Luke's sleeve. Sophia rushed over, checking Luke's arm. "Just a scratch," she said, "but he's getting bolder." Elias's stomach sank. Sheriff Bennett's 2-week deadline loomed, and Victor's complaint could force action sooner. Elias called Dr. Harlan Reed back that evening, hoping for a second opinion. Reed's verdict was unchanged. "That Mustang's trauma runs too deep," he said, standing at a safe distance from the paddock. "You're risking everything, your sanctuary, your granddaughter's safety. Euthanasia's the practical choice." Elias shook his head, his voice firm. "I'm not giving up yet. He's showing signs with Lily." Reed frowned, glancing at the girl, now reading aloud softly, her voice barely audible. "She's too close, Elias. If he turns on her, you'll never forgive yourself." Elias's chest tightened, but he held firm. "She's safe, and reaching him in ways we can't." As night fell, Elias stood at his bedroom window, the sanctuary bathed in moonlight. Thunder's silhouette moved in the paddock, calmer now, his star gleaming. Lily's drawings lay on the kitchen table, each a testament to her growing bond with the Mustang. But Victor's threats, Reed's warnings, and the sheriff's deadline pressed in, a storm gathering on the horizon. Elias thought of Nora's story, her silence, her recovery, and saw a parallel in Lily. She and Thunder were mirrors, their wounds reflecting each other. Yet the town's doubts and the sanctuary's fragility threatened to unravel their fragile progress. Elias whispered to the empty room, "Rachel, how do I save them both?" In the distance, Thunder's low whinny answered, a sound not of fear but of recognition, as if he, too, sensed the girl who saw his pain. The Montana dawn broke soft over Raven's Hollow, painting Horizon Hill's sanctuary in hues of amber and rose. Lily Harper sat near Thunder's paddock, her sketchbook open, her pencil capturing the black Mustang's starlit silhouette. A week had passed since her arrival, and her daily vigil, drawing or reading 20 feet from the fence, had become a silent ritual. Thunder's tension had eased, his pacing less frantic, his eyes tracking her with curiosity rather than fear. Dr. Elias Harper watched from the kitchen window, his coffee mug warm in his hands. The fragile bond between his granddaughter and the volatile horse sparked hope, but the sanctuary's troubles loomed larger. Victor Langford's threats and Sheriff Cole Bennett's 2-week deadline pressed like a gathering storm, and Elias feared one misstep could unravel everything. Lily's sketchbook lay open on the grass, its pages filled with Thunder's image, his ears pricked, his gaze softening. In the margins, she'd written, "He's like me, afraid but strong." The words, unseen by Elias, were her first attempt to name the connection she felt, a tether born of shared pain. She hadn't spoken since the accident that took her parents, but her drawings spoke of a world where fear didn't have the final word. Elias set a breakfast tray beside her, his voice gentle. "Morning, sweetheart. You're up early." Lily's eyes flicked to him, then back to Thunder, who stood closer to the fence than ever, his nostrils flaring as he caught her scent. Elias's heart lifted, but doubt lingered. Could this bond hold against the town's skepticism? Sofia Ramirez arrived, her face etched with cautious optimism. She'd paused her training sessions after Thunder's latest charge at Luke Harlan, intrigued by Lily's effect on the Mustang. "She's closer today," Sofia noted, watching from the barn. "He's not lunging at the fence anymore." Elias nodded, his gaze on Lily. "She's not pushing him, just being there." Sofia's eyes softened, shadowed by her own loss of a mare to a roundup. "It's not a technique I know, but it's working. Let's keep observing." Elias agreed, but his thoughts were interrupted by a call from Elena Vargas, Lily's social worker. "Mr. Harper, I'm scheduling a home visit tomorrow," she said, "standard for custody transitions." Elias's stomach tightened. Knowing it might raise red flags, he hadn't mentioned Lily's proximity to Thunder. The next morning, Lily was at the kitchen table, her hair neatly brushed, her clothes clean, a first since her arrival. Elias raised an eyebrow, surprised by her initiative. "You know Miss Vargas is coming today?" he asked. Lily nodded, pushing a drawing across the table, Thunder standing calmly, a small figure beside him, unmistakably her. "Want to show her this?" Elias asked. Another nod, her eyes bright with purpose. Elias smiled, but his nerves churned. A social worker might question a mute child spending hours near a horse deemed dangerous. He resolved to steer the visit away from Thunder's paddock, focusing on Lily's progress. Elena Vargas arrived at noon, her professional demeanor softened by genuine concern. She observed Lily in the farmhouse, noting the tidy room, the books on horses, the sketchbook brimming with drawings. Psychologists say her mutism is situational, not physiological, Elena explained, her voice calm. Her vocal cords are fine. It's trauma blocking her speech. Elias nodded, his throat tight. "Anything I should do? Specific therapies?" "Create a safe, stable environment," Elena replied. "Let her find her way back to words. Has she shown progress? Gestures? Writing?" Elias pointed to the sketchbook. "She's drawing constantly, responding with nods. Small steps, but they're there." Elena leafed through the pages, pausing at Thunder's images. "She's fixated on this horse," she said. "One of yours?" Elias chose his words carefully. "A recent rescue. Lily's taken an interest. It comforts her." Elena's eyes warmed. "That's positive. Connecting with something is a big step in trauma recovery. I'd like to see the property and get a complete picture of her environment." Elias's shoulders tensed, but he led her outside, deliberately avoiding Thunder's paddock. He showed her the other rescue horses, the barn, and Rachel's overgrown rose garden, its blooms defiant against the autumn chill. Elena said, "This is a wonderful setting, fresh air, animals, nature, all therapeutic." Elias relaxed slightly, but as they neared the house, Lily appeared on the path, gesturing urgently for them to follow. Elias's heart sank. "Lily, we're finishing the tour," he said, anxiety creeping into his voice. But Lily's expression was resolute, her small hand insistent. Elena glanced at Elias, curious. "She wants to show us something," she said. "Let's follow her lead. Self-initiated communication is a good sign." With no choice, Elias trailed Lily as she led them to Thunder's paddock. The Mustang stood near the fence, his posture alert but not aggressive, his star gleaming in the sunlight. Lily pointed proudly between herself and the horse, her eyes bright. "Is this the horse from her drawings?" Elena asked, keeping her voice low. Elias nodded, bracing himself. His name's Thunder. He's had a tough adjustment. Lily picked up a stick and scratched in the dirt. Thunder and I are friends. Elena crouched to her level, her voice soft. You and Thunder are friends? That's wonderful, Lily. Lily nodded vigorously, then scratched more. He's scared like me. Elias held his breath, watching Elena's reaction. To his relief, she seemed moved, her eyes glistening. You understand each other, she said softly. Sometimes that's all we need, someone who gets it without words. As they spoke, Thunder stepped closer, stopping 10 feet from the fence, his ears pricked, his gaze steady. Lily looked at him, then back at Elena, her expression serious. She wrote, He needs time. Elena nodded, her voice warm. Healing takes time. Elias exhaled, the tension easing. Elena's acceptance was a small victory, but Victor's threats loomed. Later, after Elena left with a positive report, Elias found Lily back at the paddock, reading from Nora Langford's book. That was brave, showing Miss Vargas your connection with Thunder, he said, sitting beside her. Lily's eyes flicked up, worry crossing her face. She mimed writing, and Elias handed her a notepad. Will they take Thunder away? She wrote, her hand trembling. Elias's heart clenched. Who told you that? She wrote again. Heard you and Doctor. Read. Elias sighed, his voice firm but gentle. Some think he's too dangerous, but you're proving them wrong. He can stay as long as he's progressing, and you're helping him do that. Lily's face relaxed, but she wrote one more question. Promise? I promise, Elias said, his resolve hardening. As long as he's improving, he's ours. Lily returned to her book, her shoulders easing. Elias watched Thunder grazing closer to the fence than ever, his body language softer. The Mustang's trust in Lily was undeniable, a bridge across their shared wounds. But as the sun dipped below the Sapphire Range, Elias's thoughts turned to Victor's latest move, a formal complaint filed with the county, claiming Thunder endangered the community. Sheriff Bennett had called earlier, confirming a safety inspection was imminent. Elias glanced at Lily's drawing, Thunder's eyes staring back, and felt a surge of determination. The girl and the horse were building something fragile but real. He'd fight to protect it, no matter the cost. The Montana sky darkened over Raven's Hollow, heavy clouds rolling in from the west, their edges jagged with the promise of a storm. Horizon Hill's sanctuary stood quiet, the air thick with the scent of rain. Lily Harper sat at the farmhouse window, her sketchbook forgotten, her blue eyes fixed on Thunder's paddock. The black Mustang paced restlessly, his white star flashing as he tossed his head, nostrils flaring at the distant rumble of Thunder. 2 weeks had passed since Lily's arrival, and her daily vigils, drawing or reading near the paddock, had softened Thunder's fear, his once constant pacing giving way to moments of stillness. Dr. Elias Harper watched his granddaughter, his heart torn between pride and worry. The bond between Lily and Thunder was growing, but Victor Langford's complaint and Sheriff Cole Bennett's looming deadline threatened to sever it. A storm was coming in more ways than one. Lily's fingers pressed against the glass, her breath fogging the pain. Her latest drawing, tucked in her sketchbook, showed Thunder's eyes, no longer wild but searching, as if he saw her pain. In the margins, she'd written, "He hears the helicopters in the thunder." The words were her secret, a glimpse into her understanding of the Mustang's trauma. The accident that took her parents replayed in her dreams. Screeching tires, a flash of light, and silence had been her refuge. But Thunder's presence stirred something, a need to protect him from the fear she knew too well. Elias approached, his voice gentle. "He'll be fine, Lily. He's got a shelter in the paddock." But Lily's eyes widened, her hand scribbling on her notepad. "He's afraid of loud noises." Elias frowned, the words sinking in. "Most horses don't like storms," he said, "but they manage." A deafening thunderclap shook the house, and Lily bolted for the door, her small frame trembling. Elias caught her arm. "Lily, it's dangerous out there." She struggled, tears welling, the first emotional outburst he'd seen since her arrival. Grabbing her notepad, she wrote frantically, "Helicopters. Reminds him of capture." Elias stared, realization dawning. The BLM roundup, the roar of helicopters chasing Thunder's herd, it was all coming back. He weighed his duty to keep Lily safe against the risk of Thunder's panic undoing their progress. "Let's check the cameras," he said, leading her to his office, where trail feeds monitored the paddock. The screen showed Thunder in chaos, galloping along the fence, his star-stark against his sweat-slicked coat. A lightning flash illuminated the paddock, followed by a bone-rattling boom. Thunder reared, then charged, slamming into the fence. A cut opened above his eye, blood mixing with rain. "He's going to hurt himself," Elias muttered, grabbing his raincoat. "Stay here, Lily, I mean it." But as he turned, she stood in her yellow raincoat, her expression resolute. She wrote, "He needs me." Elias recognized the futility of arguing. "Stay behind me," he said firmly. "If I say run, you run. Understood?" Lily nodded, her eyes fierce with determination. They battled through the downpour, wind driving rain into their faces. At the paddock, Thunder's panic was worse than Elias feared. His hooves churned mud, his eyes rolling white. Elias shouted, "Thunder, easy," but his voice drowned in the storm. Lily slipped past him, moving to the gate. "Lily, no," Elias lunged, but she unlatched it, stepping into the paddock. Time froze as rain pelted down, visibility fading to yards. Thunder wheeled, snorting, his hooves pounding as he sensed her. Elias's heart pounded, fear choking him. "Don't move," he shouted, his voice lost in a thunderclap. Dr. Elena Voss, the equine behaviorist, appeared beside him, her umbrella useless in the wind. "Wait," she commanded, grabbing his arm. "Look at her." Lily didn't freeze or retreat. Instead, she moved to the paddock's center, sat in the mud, and made herself small, unthreatening. Then, her voice, raspy from disuse but clear, rose in a lullaby her mother once sang. The notes cut through the storm, soft but steady, a beacon in the chaos. Thunder's frantic gallop slowed, his pinned ears swiveling toward the sound. "She's breaking his panic," Voss whispered, her scientific calm fraying. "She's giving him something to focus on." Elias watched, his throat tight, as Thunder took a hesitant step toward Lily, then another. Blood dripped from the cut above his eye, but his breathing eased, his nostrils flaring less wildly. Lily sang on, her voice growing stronger, her body still despite the rain soaking her raincoat. Thunder stopped 10 feet away, his head lowered, his eyes locked on her. She raised one hand, palm up, not reaching but offering. A lightning flash lit the scene, thunder booming, but Thunder only flinched, his hooves rooted. "She's inside his flight distance," Voss murmured, "but he's not running." For an agonizing moment, they held this tableau, girl and horse, bound by a thread of trust. Then, as the storm's roar softened, Thunder took the final steps, his muzzle hovering inches from Lily's hand. His breath warmed her palm, and then, so gently it seemed a dream, he touched her. The first contact. Elias exhaled, tears mixing with rain on his weathered face. Voss squeezed his arm, her voice soft. "In 30 years, I've never seen this." Lily rose slowly, her hand steady on Thunder's muzzle. The Mustang stood calm, his fear yielding to her presence. She reached the cut above his eye, and he tensed but allowed her touch. "We need to treat that," Elias called, his voice low to preserve the moment. Lily nodded, stroking Thunder's neck, then stepped back. To Elias's astonishment, the horse followed, his steps tentative but willing. Voss warned, "Keep the halter hidden. Equipment could trigger him." Elias nodded, entering the paddock with empty hands. "Hey, big fellow," he said softly, moving slowly. "Can we clean that cut?" Thunder's ears flicked, uncertain but not hostile. Lily took Elias's hand, placing it on Thunder's neck beside hers. The Mustang trembled but stood firm, accepting a second human's touch. Elias's heart swelled. Lily had bridged their worlds. At the barn, Sofia Ramirez arrived, her eyes wide at the sight of Thunder standing untied, Elias cleaning the wound while Lily sang softly at his shoulder. "What happened?" Sofia whispered to Voss. "A perfect storm," Voss replied. Lily became his anchor. They treated the cut, but Thunder's calm faltered later that night, A sudden lunge at the barn door as thunder echoed, a slight regression that reminded Elias of the Mustang's fragility. Lily's face fell, her voice silent again, the moment's weight settling. Voss reassured her, "It's a setback, not a failure. He trusted you today, that's a breakthrough." Elias guided Thunder to a stall near Daisy, the gentle mare, hoping proximity would soothe him. Lily tugged his sleeve, pointing to the stall. "You want him inside?" Elias asked. She nodded, writing, "He trusts me, I'll stay." Elias exchanged glances with Sophia and Voss.
"It's unprecedented," Voss said cautiously, but his body language shows no aggression toward her. They prepared the stall, fresh hay, water, and an open top door to avoid trapping him. Lily led Thunder inside, her presence a quiet command. He hesitated at the door, then followed, his nostrils flaring as he explored. For an hour, Lily sat on a stool, reading aloud from Nora's book, her voice steady. Thunder alternated between sniffing the stall and standing near her, drawing comfort. Elias watched, his heart full but wary. "She can't stay all night," he said finally. Voss nodded, "He's settled enough. Let her leave." Lily whispered to Thunder, then walked out, the Mustang watching but not following, his body relaxed. As rain tapered to a drizzle, Elias saw a new path opening, one where Lily's voice and Thunder's trust could defy the storm. The Montana sun rose crisp over Raven's Hollow, its golden light spilling across Horizon Hill's sanctuary, where the paddocks glistened with morning dew. A week had passed since the thunderstorm when Lily Harper, the silent 10-year-old, sang to calm Thunder, the black Mustang, forging their first physical connection. Now, Lily stood in the barn aisle, brushing Thunder's gleaming coat, her movements gentle but confident. The Mustang's white star caught the light as he lowered his head, accepting her touch with a calm that had once seemed impossible. Dr. Elias Harper watched from the barn door, his heart swelling with pride but tempered by caution. Sheriff Cole Bennett's deadline loomed, and Victor Langford's complaint threatened the sanctuary's future. Lily's voice, newly found, and Thunder's trust were fragile victories, and Elias feared a single misstep could undo them. Lily's sketchbook, left open on a hay bale, showed Thunder's eyes, softer now, alongside a note. "He's not afraid when I'm here." Though still soft, her voice had begun to emerge, not just with Thunder, but in fleeting moments, like her laughter yesterday when the Mustang nuzzled her for an apple slice. Elias marveled at her progress, but the memory of Thunder's brief lunge at the barn door after the storm, a setback sparked by a distant rumble, kept him wary. Trauma, he knew, didn't vanish overnight. Sophia Ramirez, the trainer, joined him, her eyes tracking Lily's steady hands. "She's a natural," Sophia said, her voice tinged with awe. "He follows her anywhere now." Elias nodded, but his thoughts drifted to the community's growing scrutiny, fueled by Victor's influence. Thunder's progress was undeniable. He accepted grooming, followed Lily on a lead rope across the sanctuary, and even tolerated Elias's touch, a ripple effect of Lily's bond. Yesterday, they'd walked him past the garden, where butterflies fluttered among Rachel's roses. Thunder's ears had pricked, curious rather than fearful, a sign his instincts were shifting. But this morning, Sophia planned to test him further, introducing a bareback pad to prepare for riding, a milestone that could prove his rehabilitation. As Lily secured the lead, Sophia approached with the pad, her movements slow. "Easy, big guy," she murmured, letting Thunder sniff the equipment. He flinched, his muscles tensing, but Lily's soft hum, a fragment of her mother's lullaby, kept him grounded. Sophia placed the pad on his back, and Thunder stood steady, his trust in Lily overriding his instincts. The moment felt like a triumph, but a crow's sharp caw split the air as Sophia adjusted the pad. Thunder's head shot up, his hooves stomping, and he swung sideways, knocking the pad to the ground. Lily froze, her eyes wide, her voice falling silent. Sophia stepped back, her face grim. "He's still raw," she said. "That was a setback, not aggression, but we must go slower." Elias's heart sank, seeing Lily's shoulders slump, her newfound confidence shaken. She reached for her notepad, writing, "I scared him." Elias knelt beside her. "No, sweetheart, it was just a loud noise. He's learning, like you."
Lily's eyes glistened, but she nodded, stroking Thunder's neck until his breathing calmed. Sophia suggested a break, and they led Thunder to his stall, where he stood near Daisy, the gentle mare, her presence soothing. Elias watched Lily sit on a stool, reading aloud from Nora Langford's book, her voice barely audible but steady. Dr. Elena Voss, the equine behaviorist, arrived to document the session, her tablet glowing with data from trail cameras. "She's right," Voss said, reviewing footage. "His stress markers, ear position, breathing, are down with Lily, even after that spook. But setbacks are normal. Trauma's a jagged path." Elias nodded, his thoughts on Lily's silence returning briefly after the incident. Voss added, "Her speaking to him was huge. Children often talk to animals first, they don't judge." That afternoon, Nora Langford arrived, her truck loaded with feed donated by a local supplier. Since her visit with the book, she'd become a regular volunteer, and her own history of silence after losing her mother at 12 gave her a bond with Lily. She said, "I saw what happened this morning unloading bags with Elias. That crow startled me too. Lily's doing better than I did at her age." Elias smiled, grateful for her support. Nora's father, Victor, had doubled down on his complaint, claiming Thunder's volatility endangered the valley. But Nora's presence softened the sting. She knelt by Lily, who was sketching Thunder again. "You're helping him so much," she said. "When I was quiet, horses listened when no one else could." Lily's eyes met hers, a silent understanding passing between them. Determined to rebuild momentum, Elias and Sophia planned a new approach, introducing the bareback pad again with Lily leading. The next morning, under a clear sky, Lily led Thunder to the round pen, her confidence returning. Sophia handed her the pad, guiding her hands. "Let him smell it first," she said. Lily nodded, her lips moving softly as Thunder investigated the pad. She placed it gently on his back. This time, he stood firm, his ears flicking but calm. Sophia smiled. "Perfect. Now walk him around, let him feel it." Lily led him in a slow circle, Thunder's steps steady, his trust in her unwavering. Elias watched, his chest tight with pride, but the memory of the setback lingered. As they finished, Ayana Blackfeather, the Salish Kootenai photographer, arrived, her camera slung over her shoulder. She'd been following Thunder's story, her articles raising awareness about Mustang roundups. "Saw your girl with him," she said to Elias. "It's like they speak the same language." She handed him a tribal newsletter, its headline decrying BLM policies. "Mustangs are our heritage, not livestock." Elias nodded, grateful for her advocacy. "This could help us," he said. "The town's divided. Victor's got half of them scared." Ayana's eyes hardened. "He lost land to a roundup years ago. It's not just business, it's personal." The day's success was tested that evening when Luke Harlan, the volunteer, approached Thunder's stall to adjust a water bucket. Thunder snorted, lunging at the door, his hooves rattling the wood. Luke stumbled back, his face pale. "He's still unpredictable," he told Elias, frustration clear. Lily, nearby, stopped reading, her voice falling silent again. Elias saw the fear in her eyes and knelt beside her. "It's not your fault," he said. "He's learning, and so are we." Lily wrote, "I thought he was better." Elias squeezed her shoulder. "He is, but healing takes time. You're showing him how." By nightfall, Lily was back at Thunder's stall, reading softly, her voice returning. Thunder stood close, his head lowered, the setback fading in her presence. Elias joined Sophia and Voss outside, the stars bright above the sanctuary. "She's his anchor," Voss said, reviewing camera data. "His comfort zone's down to 8 feet with her, 20 with us." Elias nodded, but Victor's latest move, a petition for a county safety review, weighed heavily. Nora's words echoed. Horses listened when no one else could. Lily's bond with Thunder was rewriting their story, but as Elias looked at the Mustang's starlit form, he wondered if it was enough to silence the town's fears, or if the next setback would tip the scales against them. The late summer sun bathed Horizon Hill's sanctuary in golden light, casting long shadows across the paddocks of Raven's Hollow. 2 weeks had passed since Lily Harper's breakthrough with Thunder, the black Mustang whose trust she'd earned during a thunderstorm. Now, Lily stood in the round pen, guiding Thunder through gentle circles, a bareback pad snug on his back. His white star gleamed as he moved with a confidence that had replaced his once wild fear, responding to her subtle cues. Dr. Elias Harper watched, his heart swelling with pride but tempered by the weight of looming challenges. Victor Langford's petition for a county safety review hung over the sanctuary, and Sheriff Cole Bennett's deadline was days away. Lily's voice, newly found, and Thunder's progress were miracles, but a single misstep could unravel them. Lily's sketchbook, left on a nearby fence post, held a new note. Thunder's ready to show the world he's brave. Her words, written after their latest success, reflected a growing purpose. She'd laughed yesterday, a bright sound, as Thunder nuzzled her for a carrot. But a setback, a sudden lunge when a gate clanged, had silenced her briefly, a reminder of their fragile progress. Elias joined Sofia Ramirez, the trainer at the pen. "She's preparing him for the state fair," Sofia said, her eyes on Lily. The Montana Horse Council invited them to demonstrate. Elias frowned, recalling Nora Langford's visit with the invitation. "That's a noisy place," he said. "It could set him back." Sophia nodded, her own loss of a mare to a roundup fueling her caution. But Lily thinks he's ready, and she's rarely wrong about him. The fair, set for September 15th in Helena, was an opportunity to prove Thunder's rehabilitation and secure the sanctuary's future. Donations and sponsorships could ease their financial strain, but the risk was high. Elias had discussed it with Lily last night, her eyes bright as she wrote, "Thunder can show people scared, but it doesn't mean dangerous." Her resolve swayed him, and they'd begun intensive preparation. Sophia designed a desensitization program, flapping flags, sudden noises, strange objects, to mimic the fair's chaos. Lily took charge, listing triggers in her sketchbook: loudspeakers, crowds, shadows. She led Thunder through exercises, her voice soft but firm, guiding him past a rattling tarp. She stayed calm when he spooked, rearing slightly, humming her mother's lullaby until he settled. Sophia marveled, she's teaching him to think, not just obey. Dr. Elena Voss, the equine behaviorist, arrived to document the process, her tablet glowing with data. "This could set a standard for Mustang rehabilitation," she said. "Watching Thunder navigate a pile of clanging cans, his stress markers are down, heart rate, ear position, all because of Lily's approach." Elias nodded, but Victor's petition gnawed at him. Ayanna Blackfeather, the Salish Kootenai photographer, had published another article, decrying BLM roundups and praising the sanctuary's work. Her words stirred community support, but Victor's influence kept half the town wary. Elias met with Sheriff Bennett that morning, who confirmed the safety review was scheduled post-fair. "Show progress, Doc," Bennett said, "and I'll hold off the order." Elias felt the pressure mounting. The next day, they tested Thunder with a saddle, a critical step for the fair's riding demonstration. In the round pen, Lily groomed Thunder, her hands steady as she whispered reassurances. Sophia brought the saddle, lighter than a traditional one, to avoid triggering memories of roundup ropes. Thunder sniffed it, his ears flicking, but Lily's hum kept him calm. Sophia placed it gently, watching his muscles quiver. "Easy," she murmured, securing the cinch loosely. Lily led him in a circle, the saddle shifting slightly. A sudden gust rustled the trees, and Thunder bolted, the saddle slipping. Lily dropped the lead, her voice silent, her eyes vast with fear. Sophia grabbed the rope, calming him. "Setback," she said, "but he didn't strike. He's learning." Lily wrote, "My fault." Elias knelt beside her. "No, sweetheart, you're both learning. Let's try again tomorrow." The retry was a triumph. Her confidence was restored, and Lily placed the saddle herself, her voice steady as she sang softly. Thunder stood firm, accepting the cinch's gentle pressure. Sophia nodded, impressed. He trusts her completely. Elias watched, his throat tight, as Lily leaned across Thunder's back, testing his reaction to her weight. He remained steady, his star gleaming under the sun. "She's ready to ride," Sophia said, "but let's wait for the fair. Build the moment. Lily nodded, writing, "He'll tell me when he's ready." Elias felt pride, but Victor's truck rolling up the drive broke the moment. The rancher stepped out, his face grim. "Heard you're taking that horse to Helena," he said. "Bad idea, Doc. One wrong move and you're done." Elias's jaw tightened. "We're showing what's possible, Victor. He's not the danger you think." Nora Langford, trailing her father, spoke up. "Dad, Lily's doing something incredible."
Let them try. Victor's eyes softened at her words, but he shook his head. "I'm not dropping the petition yet. Prove he's safe, or the county will." As he left, Nora stayed, handing Lily an apple. "He's coming around," she whispered, "like I did, thanks to horses." Lily smiled shyly, feeding Thunder the treat, his lips tickling her palm. Elias saw the parallel, Nora's silence after her mother's death, Lily's now breaking mutism, and felt hope stir. The day of the Montana State Fair dawned clear, the Helena Fairgrounds buzzing with crowds. Elias drove the sanctuary's truck, Thunder's trailer hitched behind, while Lily sat beside him, her sketchbook open to notes. "Stay calm, hum if he's scared." "Nervous?" Elias asked. Lily shook her head, but her fingers fidgeted. "It's okay to be afraid of," he said. "Thunder probably is too. You'll help each other." At the fairgrounds, Voss greeted them with horse council officials, the air thick with the scent of hay and popcorn. Lily stayed at Thunder's side, keeping him calm as they settled him in a temporary stall. The arena loomed, packed with spectators, including Victor, his arms crossed in the front row. As their demonstration began, Elias took the microphone, his voice steady. "I'm Elias Harper, with my granddaughter Lily and Thunder, a Mustang deemed unrideable 6 months ago." He shared their story, trauma, trust, healing, while Lily led Thunder through groundwork, his movements fluid under her subtle cues. The crowd hushed, captivated by the bond. When Lily mounted, using only the bareback pad, Thunder stood steady, her lullaby guiding him through a simple pattern. A child's shout broke the quiet, and Thunder tensed, his ears pinning. Lily's voice rose, soft but firm, and he relaxed, completing the circuit. The crowd erupted in applause, many wiping tears. Voss took the microphone, explaining the science, but the bond spoke louder. Afterward, officials offered checks, donations from moved spectators. A feed company pledged a year's sponsorship, and a university proposed an internship program. Victor approached, hat in hand. "That was something, Doc," he said, his voice gruff but sincere. "Changed my mind. I'm withdrawing the petition." Elias shook his hand, relief flooding him. "Thank you, Victor." Lily whispered to the Mustang as they loaded Thunder, her smile radiant. "You showed them," she said, her voice clear. Elias squeezed her shoulder. "You both did." Driving home under a purple sky, Elias knew the fair had saved Thunder and the sanctuary. But Lily's words echoed. Thunder's bravery was theirs, a shared triumph over fear, lighting a path for what lay ahead. The September sun dipped low over Raven's Hollow, painting Horizon Hill's sanctuary in hues of gold and crimson. 3 weeks had passed since Lily Harper and Thunder, the Black Mustang, captivated the Montana State Fair, proving their bond and securing the sanctuary's future. Lily stood in the round pen, guiding Thunder through a new exercise, moving laterally with only a glance from her, his white star catching the fading light. Once silenced by grief, her voice now hummed softly, steadying the horse. Dr. Elias Harper watched from the fence, his weathered face softening with pride. Victor Langford's withdrawn petition and the fair's donations had eased the sanctuary's financial strain. But new challenges loomed. Lily's growing confidence and Thunder's trust were hard won, and Elias feared separation might test their progress. Lily's sketchbook, resting on a hay bale, held a note. "Thunder needs to know he's safe everywhere." Her words reflected a deepening purpose, born from their fair triumph. But a setback had shaken her. A morning when Thunder spooked at a slamming barn door, refusing her lead for hours.
Lily had retreated to silence, her eyes clouded, writing, "I failed him." Elias had reassured her, "It's a step back, not the end. You're both learning."
As she guided Thunder, her voice steady, Elias saw her resilience returning. Sofia Ramirez, the trainer, joined him, her eyes on the pair. "She's teaching him to choose, not just obey," Sofia said, her own loss of a mare to a roundup fueling her admiration. Elias nodded, but his thoughts drifted to the sanctuary's expansion plans, sparked by the fair's success. The fair had brought more than donations. A university had proposed a research partnership, and Dr. Elena Voss, the equine behaviorist, arrived that morning with news: a grant to fund new paddocks, a classroom, and staff positions. "This could make Horizon Hills a model for Mustang rehabilitation," she said, her tablet glowing with data on Thunder's progress. "His comfort zone is 8 feet with Lily, 20 with us. Remarkable for a traumatized horse." Elias felt hope surge, but the grant required formalizing their methods, a task that meant more visitors, more scrutiny. Ayana Blackfeather, the Salish Kootenai photographer, had amplified their story. Her latest article in a national conservation magazine, drawing diverse volunteers, including Javier Torres, the former BLM officer, now questioning roundup ethics. That afternoon, Nora Langford pulled up in her truck, her arms full of architectural plans. Since the fair, she'd taken on administrative duties, her own history of silence after her mother's death bonding her to Lily. She announced that the Western Mustang Foundation sent $5,000, handing Elias a check. "And there's more. Private donors, inspired by Lily and Thunder, are pledging support." Elias scanned the plans: a covered arena, new stalls, a learning center. "Victor's funding the arena," Nora added, her voice soft. "He's changed, Elias. Losing land to a roundup years ago made him bitter. But your work's shown him what's possible." Elias's throat tightened, recalling Victor's shift from adversary to ally. The community's transformation was palpable. Once divided by Victor's influence, Ravens Hollow rallied behind the sanctuary. Javier, who joined as a volunteer, worked alongside Ayana, their shared advocacy for Mustangs fostering inclusivity. Javier's Mexican-American roots and Ayana's tribal heritage brought fresh perspectives. Their discussions on roundup reform energized the town. But as the sanctuary grew, Elias worried about Lily. She'd started school part-time, and her mornings at Ravens Hollow Elementary were a tentative step toward normalcy. Yesterday, she'd returned with a new friend, Tyler Red Elk, a quiet boy who loved horses. "He says Thunder's a legend," Lily had said, her voice soft but clear. The first time she'd spoken to Elias directly. The moment had warmed him, but separation from Thunder during school hours sparked concern. Elias tested their bond the next morning, taking Lily to school while Thunder stayed in his stall. Sophia led him to the round pen, but Thunder grew restless, snorting and pawing the ground. Sophia called Elias, her voice tense. He's off without her, back to pacing, ears pinned. Elias's stomach sank. Lily's teacher reported that she'd been silent all morning, her eyes distant. When Elias picked her up, she clutched her sketchbook, writing, "Is Thunder okay? He's missing you," Elias admitted, "but we'll work through it." Back at the sanctuary, Lily ran to Thunder's stall, her voice returning as she hummed, calming him instantly. Sophia frowned. They're strong together, but apart? It's a risk. Determined to strengthen their independence, Elias and Sophia planned a new exercise. Thunder interacting with others under Lily's guidance. Nora, whose gentle presence mirrored Lily's, joined them. Lily handed Nora the lead in the round pen, her voice soft. "Show him the apple, slowly." Nora offered a slice, her hands steady from years working with horses after her own trauma. Thunder hesitated, then took it, his lips brushing her palm. Lily smiled, her first since the morning's silence. "You're good with him," she said, her voice clear. Nora's eyes glistened. "You taught me, Lily." Elias watched, marveling at the ripple effect, Lily's bond with Thunder healing others. The sanctuary buzzed with activity as expansion plans took shape. Javier and Ayana led a community meeting, presenting data on Mustang roundups. Over 10,000 horses removed annually, many sent to slaughter. Their call for reform, backed by Thunder's story, drew local ranchers,
including Victor, who pledged land for a conservation easement. Elias met with county officials that evening, addressing Victor's now withdrawn petition. Sheriff Bennett confirmed the safety review was cancelled, but keep that horse secure, Doc. Elias nodded, relief mingling with resolve. The meeting ended with a signed agreement for the grant, ensuring funds for new facilities. Lily's progress deepened the sanctuary's transformation. At school, she spoke more, and her friendship with Tyler grew. She told Elias that Tyler wants to meet Thunder. Can he? Elias smiled. We'll arrange it. But a new challenge emerged. Ellie Whitefeather, a classmate who'd teased Lily's silence, sparking a brief relapse into mutism. Lily wrote, "She's mean, but maybe scared, like Thunder was." Elias sat beside her, struck by her empathy. "That's wise, Lily. Perhaps she needs patience, too." Lily nodded, her eyes thoughtful, mirroring the compassion she'd shown Thunder. By week's end, Thunder accepted handling from Sophia and Nora, his trust expanding. But a test came when a delivery truck backfired, sending him rearing in the pen. Lily, at school, wasn't there to calm him. Sophia managed, but Thunder's agitation lingered, a reminder of his fragility. When Lily returned, she ran to him, her voice soothing. He settled, nuzzling her. Elias watched, his heart heavy. Dr. Mia Kindle, the trauma therapist, arrived and observed. She said their bond is healing them both, but separation's healthy, it builds resilience. Elias nodded, but worry lingered. Could they maintain progress as the sanctuary grew? As dusk settled, Elias stood with Lily by Thunder's stall, the Mustang star glowing under the barn's lights. "You're changing this place, Lily," he said, "and the town." Lily's voice, stronger now, replied, "Thunder's doing it too. We're showing people what's possible." Elias squeezed her shoulder, the sanctuary's new plans, a legacy for Rachel taking root. The community, once fractured, is now united behind Lily and Thunder, their story a beacon of hope. But as Elias looked at the Mustang, calm yet still wary, he knew the path ahead would test their courage. A delicate balance between growth and the fragile trust they'd built. Winter's first snow dusted Raven's Hollow, transforming Horizon Hill's sanctuary into a quiet expanse of frost-limbed paddocks. 3 months had passed since Lily Harper and Thunder the Black Mustangs stunned the Montana State Fair, their bond turning skeptics into supporters. Lily stood in the indoor arena, a gift from Victor Langford's newfound support, guiding Thunder through a liberty exercise. Without a lead, she signaled with a raised hand, and the Mustang circled her, his white star flashing under the arena's lights. Once locked by grief, her voice now carried softly, a gentle command that steadied him. Dr. Elias Harper watched from the sidelines, his weathered hands gripping the rail, pride mingling with unease. The sanctuary's expansion, new paddocks, a research grant, was underway, but new Mustangs and new pressures tested the fragile progress of girl and horse. Lily's journal, tucked in her coat pocket, held a fresh entry. "Thunder shows me how to be brave, and I show him." Her words, penned after a school day, reflected her growing emotional clarity. She'd started full-time at Ravens Hollow Elementary, her mornings filled with chatter alongside Tyler Red Elk, her friend who shared her love for horses. But a setback had struck last week, when Thunder, startled by a falling icicle, bolted in his stall, refusing her touch for a day. Lily had retreated to silence, writing, "He's scared again, and so am I." Elias had reassured her, "It's a step back, not a failure, sweetheart. You both keep trying." As she guided Thunder, her voice steady, Elias saw her resilience shine through. Sophia Ramirez, the trainer, joined Elias, her breath visible in the chilly air. "He's learning faster than any horse I've known," she said, her eyes on Thunder's precise steps. Her own loss, a mare taken in a roundup, made her marvel at Lily's intuitive approach. Elias nodded, but his thoughts drifted to the sanctuary's new challenges. The university grant, secured after the fair, funded a formal study, and Dr. Elena Voss's team had installed cameras to track Thunder's interactions. Their data showed his stress markers, heart rate, ear position, plummeting with Lily, a model for rehabilitating traumatized Mustangs. But new horses, including Storm, a bay from Thunder's herd, brought fresh demands. Storm's wariness mirrored Thunder's early days, and Lily was determined to help him, stretching her energy thin. That morning, Ayanna Blackfeather arrived, her camera capturing Thunder's Liberty work. Her articles, now national, had drawn a diverse crowd. Volunteers like Javier Torres, the ex-BLM officer, and Lila Running Deer, a Blackfeet woman advocating for Mustang preservation. Ayanna said, "This place is changing the conversation," handing Elias a magazine. Her latest piece, Mustangs, Symbols of Resilience, Not Threats, cited Horizon Hills as proof. Elias felt a surge of pride, but the influx of visitors, researchers, donors, reporters worried him. Though strong, Lily's progress was fragile, and Thunder's trust could falter under scrutiny. Lily's voice grew stronger at school, and her friendship with Tyler deepened. Wide-eyed, he visited the sanctuary last weekend as Lily showed him Thunder's tricks, bowing, stepping sideways. "He's a legend," Tyler had said, echoing the town's new view. But Ellie Whitefeather, who'd once teased Lily's silence, posed a challenge. Yesterday, Lily returned quietly, writing. Ellie was mean to Tyler, called him weak. Elias sat with her, his voice gentle. "Sounds like she's hurting, like Thunder was." Lily's eyes lit up and she wrote. Maybe she needs chances too. Her empathy stunned Elias, a wisdom born from her work with Thunder. "She wants to visit," Lily added. "Can she?" Elias nodded. "Let's show her what patience does." The next day, Ellie arrived, her posture stiff, her eyes wary. Lily led her to Storm's paddock, where the bay Mustang watched from afar. "He's scared, like Thunder was," Lily said, her voice clear. "You don't push, wait." Ellie hesitated, then offered Storm an apple slice, her hands trembling. The horse stepped closer, sniffing, and Ellie's face softened. "He likes you," Lily said, smiling. Elias watched, marveling at Lily's compassion. She saw past Ellie's cruelty, offering the same patience she gave Thunder. Dr. Mia Kendall, the trauma therapist, observed that Lily applies equine therapy to humans. "It's revolutionary, but a new test loomed, Thunder's first trail ride beyond the sanctuary." Sophia planned it meticulously, desensitizing him to trail obstacles, bridges, rustling brush. Elias, Lily, and Sophia saddled up on a clear February morning, Lily on Thunder, Elias on Cooper, a steady gelding, and Sophia on her mare. Nora and Voss followed in a UTV, cameras ready. The snow-packed riverbank trail sparkled, and Thunder moved with alert curiosity, his ears swiveling. Lily rode confidently, her voice soothing when he tensed at a creaking branch. "He's doing great," Sophia said, crossing a wooden bridge. Thunder hesitated at the hollow sound but followed Lily's cue, his trust unwavering. The true challenge came when a deer bounded across the path, its sudden motion triggering Thunder's instincts. He froze, muscles taut, eyes wide. Elias's heart raced, fearing a bolt. Lily's voice cut through, soft but firm. "Easy, Thunder, just a deer." Her hand rested on his neck, her lullaby rising. Thunder blew softly, his body relaxing, and after a moment, he stepped forward, choosing trust over flight. "That's not obedience," Sophia whispered to Elias. "It's a partnership." They rode 2 hours, farther than planned, Thunder's confidence growing. But on the return, a snapping twig sent him rearing, a brief regression. Lily stayed calm, guiding him back, but her face clouded, writing later, "I scared him again." Elias reassured her, "You kept him safe. You both did." They untacked Lily's journal at the sanctuary, opened to a new entry. "Thunder's brave outside, like me at school." Elias smiled, but Mia's words echoed, "Separation builds resilience." Lily's school hours meant less time with Thunder, and his agitation without her lingered. Sophia suggested more handlers, Nora and Javier, to expand his trust. The next day, Javier, whose BLM past gave him insight into Thunder's trauma, offered an apple. Thunder hesitated, then accepted his third human connection. Watching, Lila Running Deer said, "He's teaching us as much as Lily is." Her Blackfeet perspective, horses as kin, shaped the sanctuary's growing mission. That evening, Elias met with county officials, finalizing the conservation easement Victor had proposed. "The land's secure," Victor said, his once cold eyes warm. "Your work's worth it." The meeting, attended by Ayanna and Javier, cemented the sanctuary's role as a community hub. Donations poured in, spurred by Ayanna's articles, easing financial strain.
But as Elias watched Lily read to Thunder, her voice stronger, he worried about the next Mustang arrivals. Storm was adjusting, but others would bring new challenges. Lily's empathy, extending to Ellie, showed her growth, but her journal entry chilled him. If I help others, will Thunder still need me? As snow fell, Elias stood with Lily by Thunder's stall, the Mustang's star glowing. You're changing lives, Lily, he said. Hers, Storm's, even Ellie's. Lily's voice, clear now, replied. Thunder started it. We're a team. Elias squeezed her shoulder, the sanctuary's expansion, a legacy for Rachel, taking root. But as Thunder nickered softly, Elias knew new horses and children would test their bond, a delicate balance between growth and the trust that had transformed them all. Spring's first green tendrils broke through the Montana snow, painting Horizon Hill's sanctuary in hues of renewal. 6 months had passed since Lily Harper and Thunder, the black Mustang, forged their bond during a thunderstorm, transforming Ravens Hollow from a divided town into a beacon of hope. The sanctuary hummed with activity, new paddocks rising, a classroom under construction, funded by a university grant and donations sparked by their story. Lily stood in the indoor arena, her small frame steady as she signaled Thunder to run free, his white star flashing under the lights. Without a halter, he circled her, responding to her voice alone, a testament to their trust. Dr. Elias Harper watched, his weathered hands gripping the rail, pride swelling but tempered by the weight of new Mustangs and children arriving soon. Their journey, once a desperate gamble, now promised a legacy that would outlive them all. Lily's journal, tucked in her pocket, held a final entry. Thunder and I proved scared doesn't mean broken. We're stronger together. Silenced by grief a year ago, her voice rang clear, not just with Thunder, but at school, where she spoke confidently. Yet a setback last week, Thunder bolting when a new horse arrived, had shaken her, her silence returning briefly. She'd written, "What if he doesn't need me anymore?" Elias had reassured her. He's learning to trust others because of you. You're his foundation. Now, as Lily called Thunder back, he trotted to her side, nuzzling her hand. And she smiled, her resilience a mirror to his. The sanctuary's open house, set for today, would showcase their methods and premiere Dr. Elena Voss's documentary on Lily and Thunder. Elias stood at a new pavilion, its beams funded by Victor Langford, once their adversary. The crowd gathered, local ranchers, university researchers, and diverse volunteers like Ayanna Blackfeather and Javier Torres, whose advocacy had elevated the sanctuary's mission. Ayanna's latest article in a national journal declared, "Horizon Hills proves Mustangs aren't threats, but teachers." Javier, his BLM past a distant memory, led tours, and his Mexican-American roots bridged communities. Lila Running Deer, a Blackfeet volunteer, shared stories of horses as kin, drawing nods from attendees. Elias took the podium, his voice steady. "Welcome to Horizon Hills," he began, his eyes on Lily, who stood with Thunder at the arena's edge. "This sanctuary is about second chances, about believing trauma doesn't define us. Lily and Thunder showed us healing comes from patience, not force." The crowd listened, rapt as he recounted their journey. Thunder's violent past, Lily's silence, their mutual trust. Lily whispered to Thunder, her hand on his neck, keeping him calm amid the crowd's buzz. Sofia Ramirez, the trainer, led demonstrations with Storm, the bay Mustang, showing how Lily's methods applied to new arrivals. Nora Langford, now the sanctuary's administrator, managed the schedule, and her own history of silence bonded her to Lily. The day unfolded with educational stations, Mustang behavior, roundup impacts, drawing gasps when Javier cited 30,000 horses removed since 2020, many slaughtered. Lila's stories of Blackfeet horse culture moved visitors, sparking donations. But the main event loomed, Lily and Thunder's Liberty demonstration. As afternoon light slanted through the arena,
Lily led Thunder inside, the crowd hushing. Elias's heart raced. Yesterday, Thunder had spooked at a slamming gate, a regression that silenced Lily for hours. Today, she stood confident, her voice clear. "Thunder, go," she said softly, sending him to circle the arena, free of restraints. He galloped, his star blazing, then stopped at her call, returning to her side in a moment that drew tears. Their triumph was their choice to return, not the freedom to run. The crowd erupted, many standing, wiping their eyes. Elias took the microphone, his throat tight. "Lily, want to say something?" A year ago, the question would have been unthinkable. Now, she stepped forward, her hand on Thunder's neck. "He taught me being scared isn't weak," she said, her voice ringing. "It means you need someone patient to help you be brave. Every horse deserves what Thunder got, and every scared person deserves someone who won't give up." The simplicity of her words, honed by months with Thunder, resonated, capturing the sanctuary's mission. "Thank you for supporting us," she added, and the crowd roared, their applause a tide of affirmation. As the event wound down, Victor approached Elias, his once cold eyes warm. "You've built something real here, Doc," he said, offering a check from his ranch. "Please keep it going." Elias shook his hand, gratitude swelling. Nora joined them, her smile bright. "The easement's signed," she said. "This land's protected forever." Ayana and Javier, nearby, shared plans for a Mustang advocacy coalition, their diverse voices uniting the community. Dr. Mia Kendall, the therapist, brought a group of trauma-affected children who watched Lily with awe. "She's teaching them empathy," Mia told Elias. "It's changing how we approach therapy." That evening, Elias and Lily sat on the farmhouse porch, the sapphire range glowing lavender under a fading sky. Thunder grazed nearby, his silhouette peaceful, occasionally lifting his head to check on Lily. "You did wonderfully," Elias said, his arm around her. "Your parents would be so proud." Lily leaned against him. "Do you think they saw?" "I think they know," Elias replied, his voice thick. "Some bonds go beyond this world." They sat in silence, the Mustang's soft nickering a gentle thread. Lily's journal entry flashed in Elias's mind. "We're stronger." Her empathy, extended to Ellie Whitefeather, now a sanctuary regular, showed her growth, a legacy of compassion. A final test came as dusk fell. A new Mustang's whinny echoed, startling Thunder. He reared, eyes wide, but Lily's voice cut through. "Easy, Thunder." He settled, choosing her over flight, a last triumph over fear. Elias's heart swelled. This was the legacy he'd promised Rachel. Lily's voice, thoughtful, broke the quiet. "Grandpa, remember your promise. Thunder stays as long as he's making progress. What if we promised that for all horses, all kids, no matter how slow?" Elias's throat tightened, her compassion profound. "That's what this place will be, Lily. A home where no one's too broken." As stars emerged, another Mustang called, and Thunder answered, a conversation ancient as the mountains. Elias reflected on their journey, a desperate gamble on a dangerous horse, a silent girl finding her voice, a community transformed. Now a research hub, the sanctuary would welcome more horses and children, each a new challenge. But Lily and Thunder had carved a path from fear to trust, a roadmap for healing. Their bond stemmed from Victor's easement, Ayana's advocacy, and Javier's reform efforts. Elias glanced at Thunder, his star gleaming, and whispered, "You changed everything, this place, Lily, me, even Victor. Thank you for showing us that patience is stronger than fear." Lily took Elias's hand, her voice soft. Thunder was worth saving, wasn't he? Even when everyone said he was too dangerous. He was, Elias agreed, helping her up. And so are all the others we'll meet. That's your legacy, a place where too damaged doesn't exist. As they walked toward the warmly lit house, Thunder's nickering followed, no longer fearful but joyful, a soul at peace. Under a canopy of stars, Horizon Hills stood as a testament to patience, proving that with time and trust, the deepest wounds could mend, and the most frightened hearts could learn to soar.